Water crossings. I love hikes with a lot of water crossings. If a trail has a lot of water crossings, definitely gets bonus points in my book. And I think it's fun to get my feet wet, to wade in the water, and I don't mind getting my shoes wet. But there are a lot of people who don't feel the same way. I was reading this post the other day on the forums where this guy told two stories. One was this woman who lost her big toe because she took her shoes off so they wouldn't get wet and ended up stubbing her toe. The second one was about this guy who fell hard and hurt himself because he was trying to balance on a log because he didn't want to get his shoes wet. So this guy's advice to everybody was, hey, just get your freaking shoes wet. And I 100% agree. You got to keep your shoes on when you're doing your water crossing. It's so much safer because they protect your feet. Also, if you're thinking about hopping from rock to rock or balancing on a log because you don't want to get your shoes wet, you should just at least consider that maybe it's safer to just walk right through the water and stay a lot more stable, as long as you're okay with getting your shoes wet. Now, I can totally understand why people don't want to get their shoes wet, because they think it's going to be uncomfortable, and in a sense, they're right. It is uncomfortable to get your shoes wet if you don't know how to do it. But I'm going to tell you how to do it. Right? There are only two things you need to do to get through a water crossing, getting your shoes wet, and still feel comfortable afterwards. Number one, wool socks. Get yourself a good pair of wool socks. They don't even need to match. Mine don't. But what wool socks is going to do is going to help your feet feel a lot drier. And the reason it does that is because it soaks up a lot more water than cotton does. So it's a little counterintuitive. It soaks up more water than cotton does, but that means it doesn't actually feel wet until it's way more soaked. And when it does get soaked, all you have to do is just wring it out, put them back on, and they feel pretty much dry again. So wool socks definitely help you feel a lot better. And the other reason why they help is they dry faster. And also, when they get wet, they still keep their insulating properties, meaning they'll still keep you warm when they're wet, unlike cotton socks, which they totally lose their insulation when wet. The second thing you need to do is take your socks off and take out the insoles of your shoes before you cross the water. The reason is that this stuff soaks up a lot of water, and if you take it out before you cross the water, then all you need to do after your boots fill up with water, you just need to dump out the water, put your dry insole in, put your dry socks on, and then you're good to go. Super comfortable after that. And any amount of wetness that's still in the boot, maybe you'll feel 90% dry, 10% wet. Any amount of wetness that's still in the boot after you walk for 30 minutes, it'll probably just evaporate and you'll dry off that fast. But during that 30 minutes, should feel okay because it'll be 90% dry. So is there anything else? That's really the only thing that I do to feel comfortable in water crossings. And shoes. Do you need special shoes for water crossings? No, not really. And the reason I say that is, yeah, you could get these extra shoes, these special shoes that have holes in the bottom, that drain out, that dry fast. And that's great. If you can get that, great. But even if you don't have that, using these first two things, right, taking your socks off, using wool socks, taking out the insoles, that stuff is gonna give you 90% of the benefit and already make you really comfortable. To give an example, I just use these waterproof boots, and yeah, they're waterproof right about up to here. But once the water gets above my ankle, they just fill up with water and they hold water like a bathtub, right? That's what waterproofness does for this. Even though they fill up with water, not a problem. I just dump out the water, put my dry insole in, dry socks, and I'm fine. So I hope those tips help you be more comfortable with having wet shoes so that you can be safer and hopefully save a toenail.